Look, if there's one thing you know about me, it's that I flipping love a Star Trek model. I love them. I love them. So that's why I was basically asked to present this video. Because think about it, who better? Wait till you see the follow-up video. I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 Star Trek toys that we loved. Number 10, the official Star Trek helmet. The official Star Trek helmet, or Spock's helmet, if you will, is as notorious as it is hilarious. It's the ultimate in so bad it's good. Sure, the toy has absolutely nothing to do with Star Trek or Spock, aside from having the words plastered all over the side of it, but does it matter? Time itself has been the judge, and it has ruled no. Thanks to Star Trek Lower Decks, the Space Fun helmet is now canon and in-universe as a collectible in the infamous Collectors Guild. Perhaps more appropriately, it's part of the contraband of one Beckett Mariner. The history of the helmet is about as odd as you might expect. In Netflix's The Toys That Made Us Star Trek, in the late 1960s and early 1970s, the toy company Remco effectively started label slapping Star Trek and Astro on anything to give us sort of a Star Trek Astro buzz and to, tie in with demand from fans from the show. We've got the Star Trek Astro Buzz ray gun and the Star Trek Astro tank as well. Let's not forget the bug-eyed Star Trek Astro helmet. There may be another list coming where I go into a little bit more details about them. In 1976, the Enco Industries followed suit and came up with the iconic disaster that is the Star Trek Space Fun headset. And it wasn't just Spock that you had to go with. There was decals for Kirk and McCoy and Scotty as well. In a final twist, and frankly one that pushes this into the toys we loved category, in 2019, Ethan Peck did an unboxing of this helmet for StarTrek.com. The toy no longer wears the wearer. Spock wears it. It even came with vintage tissue paper, Peck noted as well as he opened the box. Ultimately, this is one of those pleasantly charming toys that, quite frankly, it's hard not to love. Number 9, Star Trek action figures by Mego. In 1974, Mego released its first series or wave of Star Trek action figures. You had Captain Kirk, Dr. McCoy, Mr. Scott, Klingon, and Mr. Spock. The Lieutenant Uhura figure was actually only added to the face cards by the end of 1974. By all measures, and to be fair, in 1974, Mego had actually created decent action figures that were fully posable of Star Trek characters, which was a first for the franchise. Riding high in the plastic fantastic, Mego launched a second wave of Star Trek Aliens in 1975. More or less, often less, faithful to the franchise, the first one included Charon, which was a metaphor, of course, for Beale and Lokai from Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, and the Keeper, which is basically Baylock's puppet, but just a white or orange robe on it. The Gorn figure, now that one took the most license. The head was a reuse of Mego's earlier Lizard figure from Marvel's superhero line, and the body was General Ursus from Planet of the Apes. The outfit was suspiciously similar to the one worn by the Klingon on their earlier figure. The first run of Aliens also included a Neptunian in a bathing suit. Released in the second wave of Aliens in 1976, you had an Andorian, the Romulan, Talos, and for some reason, a Magato wearing clothes. From action figures to action play sets and accessories, Mego's run of Star Trek toys in the 1970s include the now legendary USS Enterprise action playset that memorably came with the spinning transporter, the same one that was broken by Sheldon Cooper in The Big Bang Theory. How could we forget the equally iconic Mego's Star Trek tricorder, communicators, command console, mission to Gamma 6, Super Phaser 2 target game, telescreen console, and Star Trekulator. Number 8. Star Trek action figures by Playmates. Now the nostalgia's really starting to kick in here. After Mego and now Playmates on the list, we've already got more goats than a colony from Bring Lloyd 5. Jack, I'm really annoyed at you for that joke. I'm Irish, and you know why. Founded the year the original series was first broadcast and known for their Cricket doll and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles merchandise, Playmates didn't start making Star Trek merchandise until the early 1990s. But as noted in the Toys That Made Us Star Trek, Playmates did something revolutionary. They actually marketed to Trekkies. Appealing to fans? Pshaw. With the accuracy, detail, and diversity of their action figures, Playmates literally changed the game. You could get, of course, all of your main characters, but you could get a variety of ones that only appeared in one episode. Such as lizard-mutated Tom Paris from Threshold. I would say who was asking for this, and yet here it is in my hand. Before Plastic Paris and his salamander babies, they first released Next Generation action figures in 1992. The first wave had Picard, Riker, Troy, Geordi, Worf, Data, the Klingon Gowron, a Borg, a Romulan, and a Ferengi. You didn't get Beverly Crusher until the next wave. From 1992 to 1999, Playmates brought out over 400 Star Trek action figures from across the series, returning briefly in 2009 with a set from the Kelvin universe, and then again from 2022 to 2023 for Star Trek Discovery, a reissue of some of the Next Generation action figures, and a limited run of Star Trek Prodigy action figures. Unfortunately, it looks like that might be it now for Playmates for the foreseeable future, who have ceased production on Star Trek figures as of 2023. Number 7. Star Trek Replicas by Playmates. We're getting more of those sentimental feelings of the past, as Polana Torres once put it. The memories of Planets Forbidden all come rushing back, standing in front of all those toys going, if only I had money. There is little that is as fun as standing in a shop and hitting the Try Me button. Now, of course, if we were lucky enough to get any of those toys, we hang on to them as if they're about to beam away. Playmates didn't just make action figures, but they made replicas as well. And with all due respect to Mego, these replicas were pretty meticulously faithful to what was seen on screen. For example, none of the Playmates communicators made a deafening siren that would cripple any nearby Ferengi. Plus, they weren't blue. The Playmates replicas looked and felt as if we were playing with the real thing. In 1992, as part of the Star Trek The Next Generation collection, Playmates first released a personal communicator, Type 2 phaser, and a tricorder TR-560. All came with authentic sounds from the show. The same year, they also launched the shuttlecraft Goddard, the one that was loaned to Scotty, and of course the Enterprise D itself, complete with light-up warp nacelles and bussard collectors. Effectively, this was early ASMR for Trekkies. From then on, Playmates would go on to make more types of playsets and action figures than you could shake a Klingon paint stick at, which they've actually reproduced, but only in action figure size. Number 6. Classic Star Trek video games. Star Trek has a checkered history when it comes to video games. Moreover, a video game might not count as a toy per se, but as it says in the holodeck safety manual, near perfect makes no difference. There might be quite a few pretty terrible Star Trek games out there, but then there is also a whole legendary heap of them. How up-to-date is your CD-ROM? We've actually done a review on the 10 best Star Trek games, so make sure that you check that out as well when you finish this video. There are many among the team who spent an almost indecent amount of time of their youth whiling away the hours on Star Trek Starfleet Command. You may have shared the keyboard with a friend, one taking the helm while the other takes ops. A whole host of contemporary ships that were added to the 3rd edition of this game, like the Akira, the Defiant, the Intrepid, Galaxy Nebula, and Sovereign classes, felt like you were getting to fly those ships yourselves for the first time. Starfleet Command has also managed to feel kind of fresh with ongoing mods, and especially with its 2016 Gold Edition. Some on the team, and not least the writer of this article, love Star Trek Armadas 1 and 2, Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, Star Trek Voyager Elite Force 2, and Star Trek Bridge Commander. To single out Elite Force 2, this game opens with Voyager still inside the Borg sphere before escaping into the Alpha Quadrant, and then the game continues aboard the Enterprise E. Number 5. Star Trek Bluetooth-enabled replicas by the Wand Company. If any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from it, then the Wand Company truly does do magic. Their sorcery would have blown the mind of any Trekkie in the 1960s, and what's impressive is that they've managed not to do it once, but twice, with a third on the way. To start with, the Wand Company's Bluetooth-enabled original series communicator is a work of art. It balances its majestic 21st century technology with its mid-20th or 23rd century design. Made using 3D scans of the last known hero prop in existence, This communicator is a fully functional Bluetooth handset that can be paired with your mobile device or used as a mobile speaker. For phone calls, yes, you do flip it open to answer. And in my opinion, it's worth it. For that alone, it's worth the price tag if there were any still available to buy. Before the communicator, the Wand Company made the Star Trek The Original Series Phaser Universal Remote Control Prop Replica. Type 2 with a removable Type 1. This is a supremely beautiful recreation that's also very handy if you're watching Star Trek. If you happen to have a King's Ransom handy, you can still get one online, particularly on the resale sites. It is, however, no longer in production. Now, what's supremely exciting is that the third one we mentioned is that the Wand Company is currently working on the original series tricorder replica, which will actually be able to scan, record, and analyze. Number 4, Star Trek model ship kits by AMT. The relationship between aluminium model toys, AMT, and Star Trek predates the debut of the original series in 1966. AMT cut a deal with Desilu Studios and Gene Roddenberry before The Man Trap had even aired. The studio got help with their sets, and AMT got the exclusive to produce model kits. This meant that AMT would go on to build the full-scale interior and exterior of the shuttlecraft Galileo that was used for filming. Even with that, they didn't release their own Galileo 7 shuttlecraft model kit until 1974. The first model that they released was, of course, of the USS Enterprise, which was released in 1966 and was massively successful. The second model kit that they released was the Klingon battlecruiser, the D7, which was released in 1968. And there's actually a fascinating story here. You see, AMT were the ones who commissioned the design of the Klingon battlecruiser because, quite frankly, they wanted more model kits to release. Which means that because of this toy company, we have the Klingon battlecruiser as we know it today. Matt Jeffries designed it as an out-of-hours project for AMT, and of course it went on to appear in the show. In the decades since, AMT have produced more model kits than Scotty could swear at. They've brought about everything from Deep Space Nine to Voyager to Cardassian ships to Romulan ships to almost all Federation starships to even Kazon Raiders and Maquis Raiders as well. Although now owned by the same company, Round 2, it was Polar Lights, not AMT, that released the first round of ships from Discovery, such as the Shenzhou, the Discovery, the New Look Enterprise 1701 as well. Number 3, Star Trek model ships by Eaglemoss. Sad face. If, like Captain Picard, you've got angry Moby Dick hands and prefer your models to be pre-made rather than build them on the spot, then you've probably known about Eaglemoss and their line of Star Trek models for quite some time. I may have highlighted some of them at some point or another on this channel. In fact, look, I'm going to be straight with you. Eaglemoss going into administration was one of the best things that could have happened to my wallet. This was a relative newcomer to the Star Trek toy game because Eaglemoss, they only debuted their Star Trek line back in 2013. Originating as a British-based fortnightly magazine, it quickly became a worldwide fan favourite. To be fair, the level of detail for the price that you're paying was incredible. Not only that, but the diversity of the ships that were on offer. Of course, you had your Enterprise Ds, your 1701s. You also had the Antares, which was only seen in the remastered original series. You had ships like the Altair, you had the Aventine, and before it was ever seen on screen, you had the Titan. Now, not only that, but they also did XL versions, they did dedication plaques, they did books, they did the little Spock Book of Mindfulness as well. And then in a case of toyception, these would actually appear in the show. For example, if you look at Picard's study in Star Trek Picard, you will see the Eaglemoss model of the Permelian battlecruiser sitting on his shelf. Now, while Eaglemoss themselves are no longer trading, a lot of the old stock is being sold off by Master Replicas, who themselves are continuing other licenses. And as of the recording of this, another company has picked up the license with teasing images of perhaps some Titans and Stargazers now leaking online. Number 2, app-enabled interactive tribble by Science Division. In this case, the only trouble with tribbles is not having one of your own to play with. Unfortunately, for the creature that loves to proliferate, these ones are out of stock, and the company that makes them, Science Division, has said they won't be making any more of them. Sad face. This is a story of fans, furballs, family, and inspirational small business enterprises that resulted in one of the best Star Trek toys ever made. The tale of Tribbles begins with Kaylee, a Trekkie through and through, who grew up both entertained and inspired by Gene Roddenberry's creations. Kaylee had dreamed of owning their own pet Tribble, and later in life, with husband Jay converted to Star Trek, finally, that is the sign for a good marriage, they decided to make that dream a reality. She decided to teach herself the code programming language C++ and designed all of the artwork for the accompanying app in LCARS. The couple got CBS on board, and the rest was just a matter of avoiding any poisoned Quattro Triticale along the way. First available for 2019, the Science Division Tribble was a glorious faux fur purring delight that had 3 modes. You had at ease, you had on duty, and you had watchdog. It would either purr or trill when petted, it would be on the lookout for a friend or a Klingon, or just let out a scream whenever it was moved. The husband and wife would blow dry and backcomb every one of these by hand. And it's a little surprise then, in a video sent to the duo of Tribble innovators, the late Nichelle Nichols loved hers. Number 1, tri-dimensional chess set by the Noble Collection. There are a couple of chess sets available out there, one of which being the 2-dimensional chess set based on the Star Trek The Next Generation by the Really Useful Games Company Limited and Crown and Andrews. Apparently 1999 is now vintage, which makes me feel horrifically old, so thank you Amazon for that product description. 1999. To quote Miranda Hart, that's only just happened. 3-dimensional chess sets are actually an idea that predates Star Trek by almost a century. It's German chess master Lionel Kieseritzky who's credited with the idea of having invented cubic chess in 1851. This was developed into space chess with unicorns by Ferdinand Mach in 1907. There's even a World Tri-Dimensional Chess Federation. Nevertheless, it's the Star Trek version, originally favoured by Spock and Kirk, and then of course later by Data, Troy, and the rest of the Enterprise D, that's the most iconic. 1975's Star Trek Starfleet Technical Manual dedicates 2 pages to tri-dimensional chess and the Regulation Tournament Board. It gives some basic rules as well. One fan, Andrew Bartmus, took this and ran with it, designing a full functioning game with a full set of rules. This is something that is very much still available and something you can pick up if you're not terrified by the fact that it's tri-dimensional chess. I still go with 2-dimensional chess. But it is a little bit expensive, so, you know, be sure you're dedicated. But I think if you're going to buy a tri-dimensional chess set, you probably already are. So have at it and have fun. That's everything for our list today, folks. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much to Jack Kiley, who wrote the original article upon which this is based. Make sure you give him a follow over on Twitter at JackKiley74656. And of course, you can follow myself at Sean Ferrick and follow TrekCulture at TrekCulture on Twitter and Blue Sky and TikTok. And we're on Instagram at TrekCultureYT as well. Until I see you again, make sure that you live long and prosper. Make sure that you are kind to yourself and kind to others, because you know what? You deserve it. Thanks a million, everyone.